Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner and MudGear Battle Alliance Pro, Evan Perperis. I've got a guest with me on the line that I am super excited about, and you're going to love this episode too. But before we get to him, though, a quick word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by MudGear. If you're not familiar with MudGear, they are the socks that everyone wears at the start line of literally every obstacle course race in the entire world. So make sure you head over and check out some of the MudGear socks. They've also got some shorts that I regularly work out in. If you ever see me posting videos, I'm either in those shorts or high elite. And then they make a lot of compression apparel, especially for the ladies. So any of the ladies you see on the MudGear Battle Alliance Pro Team Racing, they usually have MudGear capris on or the MudGear tops on. So Rachel Waters just raced, was it last weekend up at Spartan, wearing the MudGear shirt compression top there. All right, let's get to today's guest. So joining me, I have Elias Tannous. And the best part about Elias, well, there's a lot of awesome stuff about him. So I've known Elias since we were 7, and we were, like super close growing up. We used to spend all this time in Boy Scouts, and then we, went to college, drifted apart. I showed up randomly to his 30th birthday party because I happened to be in town. And then fast forward 10 years, literally haven't talked to him since then, and got him on the podcast because he's a musician, and he was the was the guitarist for Crazy Town for 6 years. So he, I think we all look at music industry and we're like, well, how do you know if you've made it? And to me, like, if you're the guitarist for a band that other people have heard of, to me, then you've made it. So that's what he's been doing for the last 6 years. So Elias, welcome.
Evan, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. Yes, we have known each other. It's a very I was smiling the whole time you were introducing me because it's we've fallen, maybe haven't seen each other, but it was cool. Like that when you came over for my 30th birthday party, it was, you're always welcome, and like we're like brothers forever. So it's always great to see you, and just thanks for reaching out and having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that this has given me, guys don't typically reach out. We're terrible, right? Like, we're terrible at staying in touch. And I'm glad this show has given me reasons to reach out to people like you again and connect and learn some of the lessons we've taken from the music industry and then apply them to obstacle course racing. So if you're just joining us for the first time, this is primarily an obstacle course racing focused podcast. But, obstacle course racing is essentially learning a complex skill. So what we do is we look at other areas of life, whether it be music, other sports, and we look at mastering a complex skill and then applying, lessons of persistence and stuff like that and applying it to the obstacle course racing world. So let's start off talking a little bit about you and your music career. Tell me, when did you start getting involved in music? And then when were you like, all right, I'm going to try and make this a career?
So you remember, I think you were even there, man. I would always be playing the piano, but remember we were camping, I think, and like Alex Carras, dude, break out his acoustic. Remember that?
Yep. Yeah.
I swear. And then I was like kind of inspired by that and a couple of people along the way. My sister mainly, has been a huge musical influence. My mom always got me and practiced piano and music and involved me in music when I was, from a very young age. So I think that what you said, there's so many ways to link music to other aspects of life, especially, obstacle course. You wouldn't think it, but obviously there's like the cognitive, sensory motor, fine motor. There's so many things that your cerebral cortex just all has to come together for to play music. And I'm sure the same thing in tune falls in line when you're when you're doing the bars, whatever obstacle course you're doing, you have to focus on that just the same way you have to focus when you're playing your instrument. And the cool thing about also instruments is that like the piano, that's why they always say it's so great to learn on as a beginner instrument, because you're not only playing the right hand, with the treble clef and the bass with the left hand. So you're actually playing multiple instruments at once, and you can transcend that into any instrument, which is why I started to play the guitar. It was a little bit harder for me to transport the piano, and the guitar was kind of like that next instrument that struck me as like, wow, so this is this is a cool instrument, and I just fell in love with practicing the instrument, just like the same way again. You can relate that. And I teach piano to kids and guitar to kids. And that's exactly what I'll relate. I'll try to find something else that they're passionate about, and I'll relate it, practicing to the same thing as, maybe if they're into basketball, practicing their foul shots, or baseball, practicing their swing. Same thing, obstacle course racing, practicing whatever, and enjoying, like trying to get them to enjoy the process of becoming better and understanding that there is a progress, and you're going to have to fail and get through that and enjoy that. I think there's, like, that's why, it was a great idea to ask me to be here, because to relate that point from music to what you're trying to do is very prevalent. But I started playing when I was young, and I just, I was told it's like the same old. Music is very cliche, man, because it is what it is. You get out there, you just make a splash. I tried for so long with so many local bands, and on my own, trying to get and learning it like Hard Knocks way back, before the internet was the internet, and just seeing everything come and change. And then moving to Los Angeles, I slept in the Hollywood Hills, and I slept in the grass, man. So, I slept in a van, not down by the river or anything, but just anything I could do to keep the dream alive. And like everyone said, you suck. I mean, I got kicked out of bands but I don't think most people realize music, it's not about good or suck. I know so many talented musicians that are the best that I've ever seen, like talented wise, music theory wise. They're all, they've studied at Emma, they've touted musicians. And, again, even again, let's relate this again to everything that you're trying to do with your podcast. It's like, I bring a whole element of performance as well. So there's an energy, you have to practice performing. It's not just, playing and just being the best at, doing, that. And obviously it's you have to be practiced and be rehearsed, and you have a set, and you have to know the songs, and you have to be extremely well prepared. So that way you can, be able to, like I said, perform, keep your head up, hit cues, be able to move around the stage, interact, make eye contact. All that sort of stuff is really important during live performances. And if you have a persona, same thing, like with your obstacle course racing, and the same thing, or if you do something for your confidence, it's great. And music too, dude. And one more thing I'll relate to it is that music and social participation, same thing. Like, you get a lot of social participation, self-esteem from playing music. Same thing with obstacle course racing. So much self-esteem, so much social participation. So, I mean, just in there, there's like 6 or 7 things right off the bat in my head that I can think that relate right to what, you said.
Yeah, I want to go in. I have like a dozen questions I want to ask simultaneously. But the first thing, so my daughter had a piano recital today. She's 7. And I was just floored. It was her and like 5 other kids, and just floored with the confidence that these kids got. I mean, there's nothing else going on except you staring at this one person playing the piano. And these like 5 little kids just got up there and, played. And I was just very impressed with their ability to handle that kind of pressure. Because I think a lot of adults would straight up fold under that pressure,
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could bet you that they were nervous, and they got up and they did it. And that's such a great thing to do. And even that they seem confident. And that's the thing. Once you get, it's like anything else. I'm going to keep relating it over and over again. Like when you first, right when you're about to start the race, do you get nervous?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time. You just deal with it, right? It's part of
relating the same thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever I know you always had a very huge taste in music. Like we said, we used to listen to a lot of bands. But did you ever end up playing any instruments or playing anything?
I played the keyboard when I was a little kid for a couple of years. I took lessons for that, and then I played the saxophone through high school, and I sang in chorus, and I was in musicals in high school. So, and then basically at the end of senior year, that was the end of that. But I had 2 friends growing up, one of them being you, and the other one being my friend Mark Capaldo, who if you listen to the old episodes of this podcast, the intro music is actually one of his songs. But I had two friends who like really tried to make it in the music industry. It was the two of you. And, it was always like, all right, well, I'm waiting for one of them to make it big, and then I'm going to quit my job and like work on their tour bus and carry their stuff in. But I had other career aspirations, ended up taking it off, so I did not use that plan. That being said, I remember coming to your 30th birthday party, and you were like, when you were 30, you were like, I was like, so you still doing it, the music thing? You still going for it? And you were like, no. You're like, I'm tired of, I'm going to paraphrase here, but it was something like, I'm tired of sleeping on the couches of random people's houses where people are doing drugs next to me. And it was something like that. And I was like, oh, so I guess that's done with. And then you fast forward a couple years, and our friend Sty, who, if anyone followed OCR America 1, he was one of the guys on the pit crew with me, and he's been at a bunch of races too. He runs into you and he's like, dude, Elias is the guitarist for Crazy Town. And I was like, what? So what changed, when we were at 30, what changed that made you keep going?
Nothing changed. Everything I said, I don't even remember saying that, but that is so funny because I feel like I definitely said that.
No, cause it stuck in my head. Cause I was like, yeah, that, cause I'm getting ready to get married and like starting to settle down. And you were just like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. So
yeah, man. So it's like the same thing. I left. How many times can you get stabbed in the back and cut in the face, rejected, till it breaks you down, and then that's what happened to me. I think that might 30. I was in the 30s. It's already been so long since then. Wow, it's so good to reconnect, man. But like, then I moved to that was before I moved to Atlanta.
I think so. I think you were still in New York at that time.
Exactly. So I was in LA, and then I think that was when I sort of lost my way a little bit, dude. Honestly, I was partying in LA like all the time. All my friends are like are huge like club promoters, and like they're involved in the film industry, and they do business and real estate, and I mean they're all really like motivated. LA is a cool place, great city. I feel like I've just visited. It's crazy to see what's happened to Los Angeles. Wow. And then Atlanta's a great city. It's that musically. So LA was becoming a little bit bad for me. I left to pursue music still in Atlanta. I thought I had a better opportunity there was presented. So I moved to Atlanta. That ended up, fizzling out as well. So again, it was like another letdown. And I was like, again, if I had seen you at that point, like 6 years later after that, and you said, so are you going to do it, man? Are you going to give it up? I'm like, yo, I'm done with music. Don't ever let, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not playing music anymore. And then I started selling cosmetics because I had the idea to import clay from where my mother was born on this island in Greece. I imported clay I called my cousin Adonis and I was like, I called him and started speaking in Greek. He's like, he thinks I'm all crazy. Next thing you know, this clay shows up here on I shipped it over. It was crazy. It was so hard to get this clay. And my mom.
So I vaguely remember this. I don't know if I saw it on social media or something, but I vaguely remember hearing about this.
So I have Greek clay. Greek clay is, I started this, company, Greek Clay as well. And when I left music, I was like, man, I got to really learn I was like something that I wanted to do. So I learned sales. I learned how to sell cosmetics for this company. And I would sell a bunch of products. So they have really helped like train me into a salesman. And I would apply the same principles that they taught me at Greek festivals where I would sell the mask. And it was like, I did the same thing, and I think enough time has passed where like I can't get in trouble for like, I think that time has passed. So I can tell, but like I did the same thing and it worked because it was like they use so many psychological things like indifference and, greed factor and all these things to like entice you with life. So like I learned all these awesome things there, just learning and learning, man. And then all of a sudden I get I see that Seth, I used to work at the Whiskey A Go-Go. You ever heard of the Whiskey A Go-Go?
Yeah, it's famous. I'm not involved in the music industry, but I think everyone knows that one if you have any pulse in the music.
I used to work there as the lighting guy, right? So I used to do lights for all these dope shows. So I did like for Alice Cooper, Motley Crue, Asking Alexander, everyone you name it, like the new, like this awesome job. And I did lights for Crazy Town, and I met Seth. So then, fast forward years later, I saw that Seth was not looking for, but he had just posted that they were going on Make America Rock Again tour. This is in 2016. Make America Rock Again tour with Trapped, POD,
oh man,
Kendrick, Puddle of Mud. I was like, some days it was and who else? Alien Ant Farm with the best, and Saving Abel, all great dope bands. And we got to just, so I went on this audition. So I called Seth. I didn't call him. I messaged him on Instagram. And he messaged me back and he said, yeah, we have auditions tomorrow. And then I said, I'm in Atlanta. He calls me. He's like, oh, you're in Atlanta. He's like, that's great. We have auditions tomorrow. See you there. So that was it. Tomorrow. So he sends me a list of songs to learn. He makes, and he says you got to be there at 2 p.m. tomorrow, AM Studios, North Hollywood in Los Angeles. I know where that is, because I've been there before. And so I had to book the plane, learn all these songs, get there the next day, be there by 2. And I started like thinking that night, I'm like, oh no, it's just too much, And my good friend at the time was like, yo, you have to do this. You have this opportunity. And I said, you know what, at worst to worst, I'll just go and see my friends anyway for a few days. What's the worst that could happen, he's going to say. So I went out, took the opportunity. I literally got there at 2, like sweating my balls off, like literally pushing my amp up. And then it was Seth and Brett, the 2 lead singers of Crazy Town, the original members. Mm-hmm. And I played in front of them. There was a couple other guitar players I know auditioning. And then, obviously I got the part. So I am the guitar player still to this day.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, and it's been incredible. We've been all the way, we've toured, the United States like 8 times, and we've been to Europe multiple times. We played in India. We went to Australia and New Zealand. So yeah. So everything that I had ever wanted to do and strive for in music, I finally, and like you said, and not even, because I had left it again, man. It just was another random audition.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's the thing, like, you have all these things, that's life, you plant seeds. And then, one of these days, like the seed sprouts because it's ripe, it's prepared, or you're ready to go when the opportunity calls. And I was really prepared for that. Like I was doing all my jumps. Like I was so like into it. And now we've been through so much since then. I mean, geez, man. So when the coronavirus hit, it's cool that this podcast, like that's why. So I'm studying. I applied to get for my doctorate at NYIT. So I'm at the same time, while touring with the guys who have been super supportive, when I can. And I'm in this program now, and I'm hoping to bring, help kids, with music in some fashion. So tie that awesome. Together. Yeah.
So do you play multiple instruments or just the guitar and the piano?
I say mainly guitar, but I mean, piano, and then, obviously like bass guitar, but I'm not like a bassist.
Got it.
And then like if you like maybe like a small drum beat, but I'm not a drummer, you know what I mean? If I can maybe I can fill in, but just a guitarist.
Yeah, right on.
I got a lot of stuff going on, man. I
can't. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about like, people telling you suck or you getting kicked out of bands or getting backstabbed, etc. Right? Like, there's a saying like big symbols make big targets, right? So if you want to be famous or you want to be successful, you're going to attract a lot of praise and a lot of good attention, but you're also going to, people will hate you for sometimes no reason whatsoever. People will say nasty things, right? So how do you deal with the good and the bad that comes at you as a public figure?
I feel like you're totally right, man. No matter what, you're never gonna please everybody. No matter what you do, somebody's gonna like it, somebody's gonna dislike it, someone's always gonna be a hater. You
Yeah.
probably don't even know it, but you got haters, even like closer than you think too, but 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 at the end of the day, none of that matters as long as you love yourself. If you internally, if you have no beef with yourself and you can look yourself in the mirror and you know you deserve what you're getting because you're putting in the hard work and you're trying, or you're trying to balance, and as long as you're trying your best, which only you know, then that's fine. So it's hard to put yourself out there, man. It's hard to post. It's hard to do all those things because people love to put you down. Most people do. That's why it's even harder to find the people, like, that's why they say surrounding people. It's hard to find those people, man. It really is. Because those those people are, it's sadder to say, man. I don't know. You got to really, find the good people and make sure that the people that you're around with aren't I think about, we even talked about it, my friend, like, it's crazy because we were like, dude, growing up, like, our friends sucked. I wish we had Adam, you think of some crews that worked together and helped each other. I think even younger generation, our crew was just always, any idea we had, we made fun of it, put each other down. Horrible kids. And now it's good that we've matured and stuff. I hope to pass on better lessons, and hopefully someone will listen, even though, kids, all know kids, they don't listen, man. It's just, they know everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So how much of your time when you were trying to make it as a musician, did you have another job? And how much of the time were you all right, I'm 100% focused on music, or I have this side job just to make sure there's some sort of money income coming in? Give me kind of a percentage, how much of the time were you all in on music versus, working at the lighting job, like Whiskey A Go Go?
Yeah. And then lighting job at the Whiskey. So it was kind of tailored because I would get my band shows there as well. So it was tailored around music. I would always teach no matter what throughout these years. I've been teaching. So even when I was in LA, I built up my own private lessons. So that's how I always had cash flow. So no matter what random job I had, and I had a million random jobs along the way. I mean, from dishwasher to I was the guitar tech at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, from The Simpsons, the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. It exists.
Okay.
Real.
Interesting. Unaware.
And my buddy, oh man, because another job I had, the first job I had coming to LA, this is crazy. I worked for this company. It was called Hit Music Group. And he was like, yeah, guys, so what you're going to do is you're going to be reading these scripts and we're going to get people's music into movies. And me and a couple, I just moved to LA and this is so cool for me. And I met this guy, Joe Little and Hans Eichmann, right? And it's so cool. I'm still friends with both those guys, by the way. Hans, he got me a Clear Tone String sponsorship. He works for them. He works for every music company. He's the man. And Joe Little is the best guitar player, dude. So that's what I'm saying. Such a great guitar player and a great teacher. And he got me involved in the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp later on that I spoke about. But I met him first. He was one of the first people I met. But this guy was, it turned out, this guy had us pitching movies, right, that were already came out, which we discovered. And we're we approached him with the script and we're like, yo, dude, this movie's already came out. We're scamming people. And he was like, no, don't worry about that. And we were like, wait. We were like, yes, we're worrying about this, dude. We quit. We quit. And obviously, he got shut down. I don't even know what happened to the guy, but we all three of us, because we were musicians. And I remember speaking to people and they were like, yeah, this is, and they would give, it's you're pouring your heart out. It was such a scam. And then I started to get into the LA thing, and I started to see all these scams, and I started to see how messed up the music business is. The music business is really sad, man. It's like you could really take advantage, especially like when you're at the top of people's, you could prey on people very easily, man, and their dreams. Because a lot of people's dreams, they want to do, they don't even really know what it is. It's all an illusion, man. Swear to God.
Wild.
It's wild, man. And yeah, it's a lifestyle that's not tailored for many. And that's why it again becomes cliche. That's why you see a lot of addiction and a lot of, stuff involved in the music industry, because there's a lot of time, a lot of reflection. You are where you are. Sometimes you can't control things that you want to be around, and you have to be where you are, so compartmentalizing, it's tough, man. It's tough.
So let's say you meet a relative or your own kid, or there's someone listening to the podcast who's still young, 20, and they're like, I love music, I want to get involved. What advice do you give them? Do you tell them just steer clear, or do you?
Yeah, you remember Billy Madison when he's like, I want to go to high school, and he's like, no, don't go. Stay here.
Yeah.
I want to, there was this one kid who came up. I used to wear Crash Karma. It was Crash Karma, and he was like, wow, this is all I want to do. It's I can't wait to do this. And I was just like, no, I'm just kidding, man. Dude, are you kidding me? It's the life. It is a dream. It's the coolest thing ever. You get to travel around with your homies, rock shows. You get to meet so many people, make so many friends all over the world. See all the, it's, and you get to create the music creative process is amazing. That's never monotonous. It's not like going to a job every day. The music industry rules. I would say anybody that wants to get into music, it's hard to, but you have to clearly define what you want out of it. If you just want to, have it as a hobby, great. If you want to take it seriously, then that's a whole different thing that you're going to have to, I would say talk to somebody like me that's been in it for 30 years. That's where you get, or let's relate it. Let's go back to why we're, here for the podcast. Same thing. If you want to get into, I would, if I wanted to get into these tough, these competitions and stuff like that, you're the first person I would go to ask, so what do I do? How do I start? When do you think it would be appropriate for me to even try to get into it? It's et cetera. So, or let's say you're a golfer, because, and you can't just go and join tournaments, you'd have to first become a great golfer and then bring your score down in order to be able to even play in the tournament. So, there's steps. There's steps, man. You gotta be bad to be good, right?
Yeah. There's a saying, the price, was it the price of admission? I'm gonna screw it up. Damn it. The price of becoming a graceful master is being an awkward beginner, or something like that. So it's something like that. You get the point.
I could show you a T-bone by showing your head of a butcher's now. Tommy Boy, you remember that?
Yeah. Dropping all these 90s references. There's gonna be some people on the post what is going on?
Come on, dude. Of course I am.
It's not, 90s are awesome. That's why. Anyway, have you ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I am.
So
I think it's 30,000 at this point.
So I love quoting that just because it. I just think there's a lot of value. People practice and they're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough yet. And it's like, well, you've only been practicing for a year. For obstacle course racing or for anything really, it's you need to be training consistently or playing consistently for years before you reach a certain level, right? I crossed over into obstacle course racing in 2014, but I ran my first marathon 11 years earlier. And I had ran cross country in high school before that, right? So I had a lot of running experience by the time I showed up to World's Toughest Mudder, the 24-hour obstacle course race, and ran that one. And I did pretty well for my first year. So, I think any kind of words of wisdom
all
on
that
the
experience, I'm sure all that experience helped you, man, already along the way.
yeah, absolutely.
You already knew a lot of stuff, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I took experience from the military about like quitting and persevering. I took, I mentioned we were Boy Scouts together. I took, lessons I learned from like Blue Nose, the winter camping, about like staying warm, and applied that to the race because you have to stay warm because it's you keep getting wet and it's cold. And about like first aid from Boy Scouts, like I used it during World's Toughest Mudder again because I'm cold and I'm freezing. And it's like, well, I know I'm not, like, my body hasn't given up yet, because then I would think I was warm even though I'm not. And at some point I did actually hit that point, but I'm not sure if I actually warmed up or if my body was starting to give up. But I just rode through it. It went fine.
Got through?
I made it through. I made it through to the end. But yeah, any just kind of comments on persistence and practice you want to share?
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, persistence and practice is the name of the game. So what happens if I didn't go to the audition?
Right.
What happens if, when I talked to you, I just stayed here, like, I think persisting is tough because you always have to break down your comfort zone, like when you get into a comfort zone, dude, like you get all comfortable and you're in your routine, because we're very routine as a human species. I think as our animal, like where we have a routine. But so when you try to break it, like you start to get nervous, you start to be fearful, you start to feel these other emotions that, we associate that are supposed to be bad, but they're also very good because they make you stronger. So you have to embrace those. You have to embrace the fear. Like even going on a small trip sometimes now, as you get older, it gets harder. I know when you're a kid, like, man, when I was 18, like I'm saying, I used to roll around in the mud. I didn't even care. Put me out there. I would, I didn't even need a room. Yeah, I would just sleep outside. I didn't care. But now it's like, man, my rest is so valuable. Like I do need a routine, man. And now I'm in school too. So it's not like the way that school was for me. I'm like, I need to be prepared. I need to be ahead. I can't cram it. It won't work. Otherwise I won't be able to retain the information.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
You mentioned like what happens if I didn't show up? Like I can't even count the number of races. I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to get on the podium at this one. I'm just going out there. I'll do my best and we'll just see what happens. And then like other people get stuck at obstacles or they fail or some of the top people don't show up. And
yeah, you never know. Every race is different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So every race, I'm sure.
I can't, like I said, I literally can't count the number where that's happened. So let's
talk
you
might be the top dog and then something might happen to you.
Right. Yeah. That's absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the future. You mentioned you're still the guitarist. You're going to school. What's the future look like for you for the next couple of years at least?
I think the band's on the. I always like to say the band's on the up and up. Like you're like, are you gonna lie? No, it would be funny if you asked me just the same question. So, are you gonna continue doing music? I'm like, well, I just right now I am. I can't say really what the future holds. I know that like we have a lot of great things coming up. We got tours coming up, music coming out. We got all this, cool stuff, happening. And I think that though with my OT, it's like I have another opportunity and another path to really, like I said, do something with music and kids and, help other people in a whole different way. Use music like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But it's like I have at least like, those opportunities and the amount I've learned. So, learning, is what we all strive to do. I think it really, helps us to keep us, young, and it helps to keep us, involved. And so it's been great to learn at school. I love it. I'm like the amount of knowledge that I've learned in this past year, because I started over the summer. So it's just only been, a couple of semesters, but it's been really, really great. Mm-hmm. So learning all the muscles in the body, and it helps me with music. It helps me with that. It's everyday like stuff. It's cool to know. So it helps me with balance my health management. So there's a lot of cool things. That's what I want to work on with kids, like self-esteem, social participation, and occupational performance. And there's a lot of things with occupational therapy and what you do, like, with sports and people who do these races, they work with OTs all the time. So that's cool.
Right on. Good stuff. I got a couple more questions and then we're going to kind of wrap it up. But, one of the things we like to ask people is tell us something people would be surprised to know about you. So kind of the more random, the better. What do you got?
Yeah, I got, oh man. So surprised to know that's definitely like random. I have probably so many things, but, funnily, very, very, very fun, I guess, is that when I was in LA, I actually was on a, like those dating web shows on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was on one of those dating shows on television.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you was it one of the ones where you have to get picked, or were you the one like dating the women?
No. I had to get picked, and I got like herbed in like the second round. They were like, they're like, get rid of this guy. Get rid of him.
Can we know the name of the show?
Yeah, sure. It was the show called Excused.
Excused.
So I was excused
and
excused myself to their limousine and then to their alcohol, and then I went cried myself to sleep.
Right on.
Yeah, that was a really fun experience. Actually, it was fun. Hey, they made me play. They made me play like the music guy. Like they involved like that whole aspect. They were like, okay, you're the music dude. You come in. I'm like, all right. So I like started like doing like air guitar. It's really funny. I don't know where it is, but I mean, if you can find it, it's hilarious. I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of those TV they make you lean into whatever you are, right? So like they'll take an aspect of you and they'll be like, yeah, keep doing that, right? And then they cut away anything that doesn't fit to that persona, right? So they like you look like an extreme version of yourself sometimes.
Yeah, they can really edit you into any way, shape, or form that they want. Yeah. A la that Simpsons, remember that Simpsons where he's the clock in the background.
Yeah, it's jumping as he's yeah. So the
one where he robbed the Venus de Milo, that one day, the gummy Venus de Milo.
I love how you're referencing Simpsons of like season 3. I think they're up to like 35 now or something. You're like, oh, yeah, the Simpsons from season 3.
I haven't watched Simpsons since then.
Yeah, so neither have I. I only get Simpsons references from like basically when we were in high school. If it's after 2000, forget it. Like I will not know what we're talking about.
I agree. What about you though? So, do you not get to answer that question? You don't
what I do is I usually try to match something my guest said. I've never been on a dating show. I did the college where I met my wife's not going to listen to this. So I'm going to tell the story. And then I got another one. So the college that I met my wife at, so I went to Hopkins, my wife went to Loyola, and before I met her, we hadn't met yet. I hooked up with a girl at a party who was on their like a dating show. Like they had like a college dating show that was filmed on campus, and it was like broadcast on their local college station. So I had made out with her at a party at one point. But the one I was going to use for this episode, and I've been saving it because I knew I was going to bring.
Now your wife is going to listen to that. Now you're just going to get in trouble for no reason at all. All right, go ahead.
So when a lot of people name their kids, they're like, oh, what about Jennifer? And it's like, oh, well, I knew a Jennifer once and she was obnoxious, so we can't use that name. So when we were picking my son's name, we picked Elias. So I didn't name him after you, but you're a good enough friend growing up where I was like, I only know one Elias and he's awesome. So I love that name. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's awesome, man.
So
that's a surprise. Dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I've been saving that for this episode to tell you.
How's everyone's good?
Yeah, everyone's good. Everyone's doing great. Since you know me as a boy and right growing up, we were in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and stuff. Would you like to share a story from our youth?
Man. Well, I mean,
because I got one. I want to see if you remember it. It's kind of embarrassing for me, but I mean, I got like a dozen, right?
Dude, how many embarrassing stories do I have? Are you kidding? the time, I mean, embarrassing. I mean, I can embarrass myself so badly that like Sty will laugh listening to this for the next year. But oh, dude, like remember the time that I put hot sauce. I like when I put hot sauce in everyone's. What I would. They were all sleeping, and like I think what did I do? I put hot sauce on. Was it their fingertips, or was it? Yeah, and then it was their fingertips, and then had them. We tickled their nose and their ear, and had them, and then they would all ran out crying.
I don't remember what we got. I think it may have been Kenny Anderson or something. You got someone, and he was like crying because he
was Regano. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, was it Regano? Was it Regano?
Is it Regano?
I don't know.
But then, dude, another hilarious one. It was when like we were really young, and we were at. I was like, I don't know if it was only Ontario or. But anyway, I was like, because Nirvana was just came out, and I was like, just like walking across the campus, and I was like, rape me, rape me.
Inappropriate for Boy Scouts to sing. Yeah. In hindsight, that was really wrong.
The Scoutmaster was like, what? Get over here, right? And then like I was like, oh no, oh I'm sorry, no, it's a song, I swear. He listened to it, like, what is this trash?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's so funny, like, you think back and you don't realize how inappropriate some of that stuff was. Like, as an adult, you're like, oh, my goodness, you can't listen to that, or you can't say that.
No, not at all. Like, just randomly some kids saying that, like trottling by. Like, it's terrible. It's horrible. So just embarrassing, like, stupid stuff like that, immature, that you just have to learn by making mistakes, man. You can't just know. You the best. That's why I like making mistakes now. You make a mistake, or same thing over here. Like, making mistakes is the best way to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's, taking it back to obstacle course racing, there's obstacles I've failed in competition that are now like my strongest obstacles because I failed them in competition. And I was like, well, I don't like that. That's never happening again. And you just practice it to 1,000 times. Yeah. So it becomes like a strong point for you that used to be a weak point. So.
So are you going to be on the America's Ninja Warrior?
So funny you mentioned that, and we're talking about failure. So I was actually on last year. It went terribly. I basically fell immediately. It was a complete disaster. Probably my worst physical performance in my entire life, and it's broadcast on NBC. So there was that. I actually haven't talked about it on the podcast before, side note. Just because I didn't have much to say about it. It was just like, I'm not even sure what happened. I fell. So I just kind of like, I was like, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to say anything. I just didn't have any, I didn't have any valuable to say. So I just didn't share much on it. And then again, since you asked me directly, I did get selected for this season. So season 14. So it films.
Nice. So you have the redemption?
I mean, that's the plan. Yeah. Or we fail again and it's a complete disaster again. But the plan is redemption. So that films end of March. Awesome. End of March it films. So my specialty is our listeners who regularly listen know this, right? So I can run for a really long time, which there's a lot of people who can run further and faster than me. But I can also do obstacles pretty well. Where I'm really good is that cross section, right? So if you can run further than me, you probably can't do obstacles as well as me. And if you can do obstacles better than me, you probably can't run as far as me. So that's why that 24-hour World's Toughest Mudder, I'm in that top 10. I've been in the top 10 3 times as a team. We came in first and second 2 different years. So that's kind of my specialty.
Dude, look at you. You're like the Tom Cruise.
I'm gonna tell a quick embarrassing story about myself, just to show some contrast, right? So I don't know if you'll remember this. So growing up, we were, me and you were like, it was me and you were basically inseparable in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, for a good chunk of the time. And I'm gonna tell a couple stories here. One, I never felt like we were in competition. But if you started like getting more merit badges than me, I would feel like I'm getting left behind. So, I think like it drove me to push harder. Right. And so just thank you for that. Because that, that kept me pushing harder. And I think this, again, the same thing applies to obstacle racing. You surround yourself with a couple of close friends and they start getting better at stuff. And you're like, well, now I can't get left behind. So you got to step up your game. So
I'm always doing that. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. That's great.
So
awesome.
that was like one of the driving factors, especially in like the early first couple of years of Boy Scouts, that made me push harder and kind of try to keep up with you. And then two, though people might be surprised to know, is like you were. No, I'm not there yet. So you were always the physically stronger one growing up through Boy Scouts.
Yeah, not anymore.
So I remember we were going through, it was called the personal fitness or personal something merit badge, and we had to do pull-ups. Do you remember this? So we had to do pull-ups, and they
yeah, maybe yeah.
So, and it was like the merit badge class was like 2 or 3 people. It was like me, you, and maybe one other person. So they have us do like 5 pull-ups, and you got your 5, and I'm not strong, and I did like 2.5 maybe. Maybe I got 3. I don't know. Couldn't do it. Right. And I was just like, I don't think I was crying, but I was on the verge of crying, right? Like boo-boo lipped, sad, and the instructor's like, you can try again tomorrow. And I came back the next day and I think I did 3.5 or something. Again, poor form pull-ups. And the instructor gave it to me. He signed off. He was like, you fulfilled the requirement, probably because he felt bad.
And I was like, that's bullshit. He didn't do it.
So you do remember. But yeah, like,
bullshit. Yo, man, it's so funny. That's just me, man. I just did that to a kid in school like last week. He didn't do his work, and I was like, dude, you didn't do your fucking work? I was like, yeah, man, you have I did. I was like, I called him out the exact same way, man. I swear, so that's just me, dude. I was like, you didn't do it. I was like, fine, but I'd say I was like, fine, here you go, but you gotta do it. And I hope that's the way that I come off. Sometimes I come off very aggressive like that, man. I'm very sorry for that.
No, you don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to apologize. But it's,
I do.
There's like early memories. And it's just kind of funny that like, again, we talk about like failing and then not wanting to fail again, like ancient memory from Boy Scouts. Like I remember that and I was like, well, I gotta get better at pull-ups. And,
that's awesome.
Obviously, I did.
That you motivated you to do something good, man. Like that's the way that I did too. I know I had a couple of harsh teachers, like music teachers, that were just really like they were strict. Like I was scared to see them. So if I didn't practice, I'd be, and that's like some kids don't do well under that, and some kids thrive under that. So or some kids, it seems like I made an impression. I don't know, like, I was bullied, as a kid. I was a little guy, like you were a little guy. So there's probably like a lot of psychological things happening there. And, I just, want to be, I'm grow, mature, just be better. So, I'm just happy that it worked out for the good. That's all.
Yeah. Now we had a great time growing up.
Yeah. Remember when we went to space camp?
Yes. I think I mentioned that on the podcast before. Yeah, we went to space camp.
We went to aviation camp.
Yep.
And we got blasted. Remember we got blasted in the very first second. It's like basically like American Ninja Warrior. Like we just got in and because it was so messed up. Like I didn't even really know it had begun. we didn't even did we even cross and then come around? I guess I don't know. Maybe we did, man. But we didn't see him, and we just got destroyed in the first hour. And then I was like, start it up again. They were like, we can't. I was like, come on.
Yeah, yeah. So Elias you went to space camp with me when we were little, and then a couple of years later we went to something called Aviation Challenge. So essentially, it's space camp but fighter pilots. And me and you were partnered up for everything. So you were the pilot and I was the weapons systems officer. And we had a great time and made friends with a bunch of kids from like Texas and all over the U.S.
You ever keep in touch with any of those guys? Or no?
Keep in touch. You're about the only one. So and then also funny, one of the part of that aviation challenge was we went through escape and evasion. Do you remember that? They you're supposed to be quote unquote like a downed pilot and you have to like evade from point A to point B. and like crawl through the woods and like.
I do remember that. Yes.
So I fast forward, I don't know how many years, several years. I went through like actual SEER school, survival, escape, resistance, invasion for the Army. So like I do that stuff in a real, using air quotes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, you're the real deal, man. You did everything. And what rank are you?
So I'm a major right now. So special forces officers, my MOS, my specialty. So yeah, it's been a great career. I got about a little over 2 years left, and we'll call it a day. Move on to other things.
I just really, I just can't thank you enough, dude, for having me here.
Yeah.
And talking. I mean, this is awesome. I just like, it's great to just basically catch up. And I'm just very blessed. I've always been blessed, that I am. We threw apples, on my property. Like, remember, we would just like take a bite and like throw these, like they were not even like ripe. They were just all sour, and then just throw them away, man. But yeah, it's just blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed to know you, blessed to be in 568, blessed to be part of St. Paul's, blessed, to just, be able to follow my dreams, pursue my passions, have a great family, be supportive, and I'm grateful for all of it. So I acknowledge that. And, I try to, like I said, try to just get better, be better, and see how I can help as many, people as possible.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. It's been great to catch up. My dad listens to the podcast, so when I told him I was bringing you on, he was super excited because he loves catching up with the Boy Scouts and seeing what people have been up to.
Yeah, he drove us everywhere. He was like the first like driver for me. Like he drove us to all the campsites, man. Like to all the games, up to where did we go see that? We saw the Army Navy game. He would always he was there, man.
West Point hockey.
West Point. Oh yeah, all the time. So, the best, man.
Good stuff.
I love you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being there, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think I said I saw your mom at she was at the Greek school. Maybe she did.
Yeah, probably. She might have been picking up my niece and nephew.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'll be looking forward to seeing the redemption on going on, man.
Yeah, don't look up the last one. The last one is there's not. You don't need to see that.
Don't let me down, dude.
All right,
and then I'll keep in touch. All right.
Yeah. So for our listeners, head over to teamstrengthspeed.com and you can pick up any of the books we have on obstacle course racing, training, workout books. If you want, if any of my old Boy Scout friends are listening to this or want to hear more about my experiences in the military and some of the charity obstacle course races I've done, my biography is ultra-ocr man, from special force soldier to record-setting obstacle course racer. It's available on Audible, Amazon Digital, and hard copy. You can pick it up off the site off Amazon. We've got Bleg mitts back in stock, the obstacle course racing mittens in light and extreme. You're going to want to get those in before the weather continues to get colder or before Toughest Mudder season rolls around. And then other than that, my new book on endurance, should be coming out by the time this airs, probably in about 2 months. So end of April, it's going to air. I'm sorry, end of April, the book's going to come out. So basically what we've done is taken lessons learned from the podcast, from all the endurance athletes, and kind of consolidate into a practical step-by-step guide. And then I've got articles all over the place. Check out OCR Buddy. Check out the OCR report. Check out MudGear's blog. The OCR report, by the time this airs, there should be an article up called OCR Pro League. Check that out. It's my conceptual idea of how to create a professional obstacle course league with using very low cost. And then other than that, I'm not sure if it'll air at this point, but I was on World's Toughest Podcast with Will Hicks. So make sure you check that out. And then go back in time and check out Obstacle Running Adventures. They had Thomas Plush on, MudGear Battle Alliance Pro, talking about KC Timber Challenge. All right, I think that's enough. Me telling you to go look at other stuff. Well, thanks again, Elias, for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, and anybody listening in Los Angeles, man, come out April. We got a show at the Rainbow Room.
Yeah, give us some plug. I forgot to ask. Give me your social media accounts, or where can they follow Crazy Town and all that good stuff.
And I know all that sort of stuff, man. I don't give a shit about that. I'm just saying, if you want to come out and party with us in April, we're going to be in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, on the Sunset Strip. So holler at your boy.
Awesome. All right, we will catch you later. Thanks again for coming on. So sometimes we keep talking to our guests after the recording has ended, and this is crazy. So we're gonna replay the conversation we just had.
Listen, I started it and I said, so have you ever heard of Stefanie Bishop?
So he asked me, not the other way around. So he asked me if I know Stefanie Bishop.
I only asked that because I know that she, I see that she has a profile. I see her doing a lot of these competitions, and that's why I asked.
So if anyone's not following Stefanie Bishop, winner of World's Toughest Mudder, what year was that? 2017, I think, Las Vegas.
By the way, I didn't know that. Steph, great job.
So, and then, Elias, you had a story about Stefanie Bishop from your childhood. So
yes, I had a quick story. Well, I mean, they're both embarrassing. I have two actually. So one was it was Halloween, and I got jumped, and like kids like threw pumpkins at me and stole my candy. And then the next day, everyone heard about it. Obviously, I was with Ryan Morrison and Chris Hackett, I believe, and she came in the next day and she brought me some of her candy. How kind is that?
That's awesome. So she's still a super nice person. Good to see that was still the case back then.
That's definitely her family's dope. And then the other one is really more embarrassing. It was like the red versus blue, or like talk about how competitive I was as a kid. So I kicked the soccer ball and I could have kicked it anywhere in the net, but somehow the worst kid, I kicked it right to him, and we ended up not tying. It was right at the last second, and it was Trevor Adler, and he was 3 minutes. So then I picked him up and I threw him. And Stephanie was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Oh man. Crazy small world. And again, the fact that you asked me, not the other way around, was pretty wild. So.
Yeah. Well, anecdote, man. Well, see you later.
All right, we're gonna get going.
Night.